Good people, what is going on? Another episode of the All Go Podcast. I'm your host, Desmond. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Got a couple things want to get to, and I had a couple minutes to chat while I was on break at work. First thing is the Trayvon Boykin story about Russell Wilson. So if you hadn't heard it, Trayvon Boykin, who was played quarterback at TCU, he was a terrific player in college. NFL kind of floated around a bit as a backup, but spent time with the New York Giants recently. And he had mentioned that Russ invited him to Thanksgiving at his house. So Russell Wilson invited Trayvon Boykin over to Russell Wilson's home for Thanksgiving. And Trayvon Boykin was on a podcast recently, and the clips have been going up as far as the that story and everything. But he had just mentioned he thought it was really weird that Russ's family wasn't there, and kind of so on and so forth. And I'm not sure what he was trying to allude to or get to with that story, but it just came off as super weird. It came off as odd. It was, for whatever you may think about Russell Wilson, he invited you to his home, and you going on a podcast saying, "Oh, that was weird because his family wasn't there." It's like, well, your family wasn't there either. And it just was odd. And I'm not sure that if Boykin just thought it was a flex, and I didn't watch the entire podcast episode. So I'm not quite sure, but that whole thing just seemed weird to me. And I'm not quite sure what he was really trying to accomplish. And that's why sometimes, too many podcasts is a thing. Like, we do sometimes have too many, because why is this even being brought up? So, neither here nor there. So, also want to talk about Alabama and the Iron Bowl. So, I am an Alabama fan, and I am irrational. So, take my thoughts on the game with a grain of salt. I, take it for what it's worth. But with the Alabama game, so the game started off amazing. The defense was playing well. The offense was driving, running the ball successfully for the first time this season. The running game was successful. It was efficient. So seeing that gave me so much hope. I was so excited. I'm like, this might be our offense turning the corner. So we drive, we get 2 touchdowns. We're up, I think, 17-0 at this point. And to me, this was the turning point of the game. It's 17-0. Alabama has the ball. We just get a first down. And on 1st and 10, Ryan Grubb decides to put in to run a trick play. And it was some weird, reverse flea flicker thing that did not work. And if you really look at the game, from that point forward, the offense became anemic. It just went back to the classic Ryan Grubb with his time here at Alabama this season of pass. And I will say, I know, Jam Miller did get injured. Looked like high ankle sprain. I think someone kind of rolled on him as he was getting tackled. But to me, we still had capable running backs. Daniel Hill is still more than capable. Like that. To me, it's not the excuse there. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is let me show you what I can do or how great of an offensive coordinator I am. I think Kevin O'Connell falls in that bucket a little bit of, right, to in order for me to really show you how good I am, let me, try to air it out and throw the ball and so on and so forth. And that's just a bad habit, and it's going to get Alabama, our season is going to end. I am assuming Alabama's going to make the playoffs. I think they're number 10 in the AP poll. But nonetheless, assuming they're going to make the playoff, let's just assume they'll make the playoffs. But the season's going to end and get cut short because of the tendency that Ryan Grubb has to just throw the ball nonstop. And part of it is, even if you're not getting 5 or 6 yards a pop in the run game, you have to stay committed to it to help the play action game, because the Auburn linebackers and safeties and corners have, in the fourth quarter, they don't think we're going to run the ball because you're just throwing the ball nonstop. It's just you're airing the ball out. We just can't seem to have any type of balance. And the previous games, it was just we are just not having success. This game, we were actually having success with the run, which frustrated me to no end that we just abandoned the run. So it's frustrating. And I just really think that was what got Alabama in trouble, was because our offense just went back to the same old struggle bus all the time. And then also defensively, and here's another issue, is the offense starts stalling. We're just punting the ball back again, punt. Defense is playing their butts off. And then, we got some turnovers and just give it right back. 3 and out. Here you go. Take the ball back, Auburn. But I think what happened was defense starts to get tired. And for the life of me, we could not keep outside contain on their quarterback. And there's always going to be, one-offs of like, hey, we were supposed to stunt and so on and so forth. The defensive end was supposed to go inside and maybe the backer didn't get outside. But in general, there should not, it was just a constant theme of the quarterback escaping the pocket because we were not disciplined in our pass rush lanes. And really, most of the plays that they had that were successful, especially throwing the ball, was when he would roll out and make a play down the field. And it was frustrating because the defense had been playing so well up until that point. But there was and I know it sounds crazy because they ended up winning and it's a rivalry game, and maybe I am reading too much into it, and I'll take that. But also too, it's the third quarter ends. It's getting ready to be literally the first play in this fourth quarter. Alabama has the ball. So it's last play of the third quarter, the big media timeout, right? Change of quarter. We come back out on the field and have to burn a timeout. We don't even get to run a play. We had to burn a timeout coming out of a quarter break. Out of the quarter break. That break is longer than a timeout break. So you had plenty of time to talk about what you wanted to do, so on and so forth. Get on the field, get lined up. Even if you wanted to check and audible, all those things, you had plenty of time to do it. Plenty of time. But we end up having to burn a timeout. And as I'm watching the game and frustrated, I look at my wife, and I don't think I've ever said this before in my adult life of watching Alabama, but I said to my wife, this is a clown show operation. To have what we did from that 17 point, we were up 17-0. From that point forward, Auburn outscored us 20-10. And we still win the game, and you're excited about that, and I am excited that we won. But it didn't have to be that difficult. The defense is they go from standing on their heads and stopping everything, getting Auburn off the field consistently, which Auburn did assist with quite a few drops and fumbles. But then we just get to being undisciplined, getting out of pass rush lanes. Now they did come up big with the fumble late. The interception, and then also the fumble late, but it didn't need to be that. It did not need to be that. And as I look through the prism of not just this one specific game, but can we number one, go beat Georgia? I know we've done it, before in this season, but can we go beat Georgia? And then if that's a yes, then you're talking about a pretty decent gauntlet of teams that you're going to have to get through to get to a national championship and to win one. And I'm just not sure we are there right now. And I pray to the lucky stars that I'm wrong in that. But the way that we operate, it's just not up until that 17-0 point in the game. I'm like, man, maybe we have turned the corner and we're ready to just take off. and it did not. That wasn't the case. Was not the case. So they won 27-20. Excited for that. But like I said, as you look kind of forecasting down the road, I'm not quite sure we're doing the things that we need to be one of those teams in the Final Four, the national championship, or winning one. So we shall see. We shall see. Other thing wanted to talk about is Michigan and Ohio State. So obviously the game was that 27-9. I believe that was the final score there. And kudos to Ohio State. They are super talented. I think they're probably the best team in the country. And also too in that, right? The best team in the country can lose if you turn the ball over or just anything like that when it comes to, playoffs and kind of win or go home type of scenarios. But they played really well. And I thought they actually could have played a bit better. Michigan, the tough part for Michigan is you look at the last year, for example, in the game, and your quarterback play was abysmal. And I think with that, the talent level wasn't there for your quarterback. So it was like, people throughout the season, there were jokes about Michigan with the forward pass and can they do it? It was a mess. Well, this year you had the talent level at quarterback, but you just don't put him in situations to win. And whether that's him not being coached up on making the correct reads, where he needs to go, or if it's just solely Bryce just not pulling the trigger when he's supposed to me, both of those things are coaching issues. And I think for Sharon Moore, he is starting to get the reputation in his head coaching tenure of not being able to develop quarterbacks, number one, or develop an offense. And it's concerning if you're thinking about Michigan next year of Bryce is going to be a sophomore. We should have more talent coming in, but it's not going to matter. If you have talented players, but you can't develop an offense, you can't develop a quarterback, none of that is going to matter. And there's a lot of people talking about fire Sharon Moore, and I don't think he should be fired. But I do think there are very clear concerns when it comes to Sharon Moore because, once again, last year, even if you want to blame, say, just Davis Warren just wasn't good enough. Alex Orji just wasn't good enough. Well, Bryce Underwood is absolutely good enough. He's got the talent. We've seen the arm. We've seen the power. He's huge. And what was it, 65 yards, 68 yards passing in the game? Like, that is unreal. And I also think, to me, I don't understand how Bryce Young running the ball wasn't part of the game plan. Like, if you're to go in the game plan and just say, well, he'll have some rushing yards, but it'll just be on scrambles. I thought that was silly. I thought they should have tried to get his legs involved in the game because sometimes with younger quarterbacks, that can get them in a more comfortable flow where they're ready and just more comfortable. Just get in the flow of the game where they're a better thrower, a better passer sometimes because they can get in that flow. And I just thought it was a very poor offensive game plan. And it just makes you wonder. And what I also think with Sharon Moore is I think Sharon Moore thought the game was going to play out exactly the way it did last year. I think because you could see he had and maybe this is me reading too much into it, but I think Michigan had maybe kicked the field goal or thrown the interception, but they had a close-up on him and on his face, and he's on the headset and stuff, and what it seemed like was him talking about them feeling the pressure and so on and so forth. And he had kind of like a little sly look on his face, one that he typically never does, have on his face. And I just wonder about that. If he just thought, hey, if we just run the ball, we'll maybe pop one for a touchdown, and defensively we'll just do enough that late they'll make a mistake and we'll win. And I just don't think you can have that as a philosophy just as a team, But I don't think you can do that based on what happened last year. Like, you can't just be like, oh, we'll just do exactly what happened last year and do that again and it'll work. I just think this Ohio State team is too talented, and just in today's college football, like, you're not going to consistently hold a team that's really talented to 15 points or 14 points. Like, it's a big play environment that we live in when it comes to offensively, and you're just not going to be able to do that. And I think Jerome Moore thought he could run that playbook back and that it would be fine. I think a little bit of injuries came into play, but it was mainly like, no, God, this Ohio State team is too talented. And I think the Michigan team, I'm not sure. I think obviously at quarterback you're more talented, but your production was about the same. And, it just wasn't gonna pan out exactly the same way. So that is it for me. Appreciate it. If you are watching, there's a chance, not actually, I've seen it, 90% of you are not subscribed. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. That's it for me. Peace.